What's up, everybody? Joel Norton here, and today I am reviewing Cigar, The Visitor. And guys, skate punk's back. For me, I'm new to punk. For many of you guys here in the community, you already know that my punk journey started 2022 at the beginning of the year. I did have some punk sprinkled in that I knew prior to that, but nothing crazy. I really delved into this kind of stuff last year, thanks to all the reactions that were requested and all that. So we had checked out, I want to say, two songs that were requested, and we reacted to those. I know Legacy of the Seven Plies was one of them. I want to say there was another one I can't remember off the top of my head. But I'm going to review this album today and tell you guys what I think. First of all, this is the classic sound from the 90s that I love from punk. That beautiful skate punk sound. And I dig this a lot. So the album starts off hot. These Chances just kind of rips right into you. It shows you, hey, we got a little speed. And then it dips into Legacy of Seven Plies, which lyrically, not a giant fan of, but the sound overall was great. I enjoyed that. And I also noticed, real quick, going back to These Chances, there was a nice some nice bass that I typically don't pick up on instruments as much as I do lyrics and vocals. So for me to notice some bass lines, we're doing pretty good. Then my favorite track on this album is We Used To. It's just a solid track. Kind of has a nice. It's not too far in the pop punk range. I think this is kind of the epitome of skate punk, if you ask me. It's fast, but it has a nice, really nice melody. Um, I love this one. This is really good. Gone Wrong was another really good one. And then we kind of dip in. The second half of the album is kind of hit and miss for me. The couple that I wasn't a giant fan of were The Loss, Classic You, Move On. Those, they just didn't really do anything for me. But it's kind of spotty because they'd go The Loss. Wasn't a giant fan of it. But the next one, In Armor, I liked it. Classic You, forget about me. Loved it. Move On, and then we end hot with Knocked Down. So the second side of this album was a little weak for me comparatively to the first half. But all in all, I really like the speed, the just melodicness of it. The vocals really, I really enjoyed those as well. Which for punk, it's hit and miss with me. I'd say kind of, I guess, or I'm known to be picky, I should say. Um, but this was a solid album all in all. And in my opinion, you're not gonna. It's hard to get an album that's all the way through good songs. So it doesn't take much away from this album. Just to be clear, there's only, like I said, four songs there. Excuse me, three songs that I wasn't a giant fan of. And those were in the average range. It wasn't necessarily that I had a problem with them. It just kind of was like blended in with the rest of the album. It was like, yeah. But all the other songs, really dug those. Yeah, it was just nice to hear the sound again in 2023. So, because I know a lot of newer punk has really gotten away from the skate punk roots, or maybe it's only the older bands doing stuff that sounded like that now. I guess is what I'm getting at, where newer bands all kind of explore their own sound, which is, what needs to be done. But occasionally I like that nostalgicness of like, hey, we can still utilize this sound well and in a really good way. And Cigar did it. For me, this album is gonna get a 7 out of 10. Like I said, there's only three songs on here that I wasn't a fan of, but the rest are just really good. It did take me a listen through. I'm like, okay, it sounds pretty good, and then I re-listen to it. I always listen to an album 2 or 3 times, especially if there's a hint in the beginning that I'm enjoying it. I'm very slow to warm up on things, and I'm sure the people who watch our reactions are aware of that. As I'm like, oh, this is a 6, and then I come back a week or two later after listening to it a few times, and I'm like, that's an 8 now. I really like it. So I listened to this 2 or 3 times to make sure I had a good feel for the album, and yeah, that's what I end up coming out with. I mean, a large majority of this album, let's see here, it's a total of 10 songs, only 3 out of there that were kind of weaker in my opinion. I think that's easy a 7. Easy 7. So Really nice to hear the sound, and I think if you're a fan of punk rock, it's something you guys are definitely going to want to check out if you aren't aware of it already. And the album, like I said, it is newer. It came out in September 9th, 2022. If you haven't been paying attention to any new releases in the punk area, you're definitely going to want to check this one out. I also got to say shout out to our Patreon, Mr. Tim. Because of him, that's the reason I checked out this band. So shout out to you for sure. This was definitely a good one. Guys, if you enjoyed our content, hit like, hit that subscribe. Until next time, peace.